Good evening. I'm super happy to be here. I normally don't get to give speeches 2 express subway stops away from my house, so this is very cool. Click. There we go. I'm going to sound like this guy for the next 8 minutes. The, hey kids, get off my lawn. Because when I look around the world of HR, it kind of feels like people are trampling very well-tended grass, trying to make a name for themselves. What I hear a lot sounds like this. Oh my God, the sky is falling, we need to react immediately. I hear things like, well, with the state of global engagement, and they normally quote a Gallup number. Gallup's an outlier. Gallup's numbers mean nothing. If you look at global engagement over the past 20 years, it's remained between 56 and 60% around the globe. That's both from an academic study perspective and just looking at the firms who gather that data. So engagement isn't a reason to change things. We hear, oh, but with the gig economy, how that gig economy, Department of Labor says gig economy hasn't changed in 20 years. If you work for Uber, paying attention to the gig economy is a very important thing. For most of the rest of us, shouldn't be that big of a deal, and we certainly don't need to restructure HR to make up for it. I hear things like, but Mark, millennials. You know what? There's actually been a lot of scientific research on millennials. It is conclusively proven that millennials are people. I know, suspend your disbelief, but it's absolutely true. And because millennials are people, they actually want the same things at work as other people do. They want a boss who cares about them. They want a company they can be proud of. They want developmental opportunities. Maybe we need to deliver some of those things in a slightly different way to them, but the core fact remains that they respond to the same stimuli that the rest of us do. So we probably don't need to radically change HR because we have other people in our organization. The challenge is when those types of clickbait headlines are out there, normally some consulting firm comes back with a shiny object to fix it. Whether that is standing in a power pose or having some grit or having a growth mindset, lots of things without science appear and are sold to people who think, well, that sounds pretty logical. Here's what I would suggest instead, 3 things. Speaker's note, if you show kittens, the audience tends to like your remarks more than if you do not show kittens. 3 things I would love you to focus on going forward. If we really want to hack HR or disrupt HR or any of the other things we throw around HR, I would love for us in HR to do 3 things much better than we do today. Let's start here. There is no more powerful conclusion in the science about human performance than the fact that big goals deliver bigger results. Just flat out, big goals deliver bigger results. How's my time? Okay. And my standard question when I work with any organization and they say, well, we want to help, we want to improve performance management is, does everyone in your company have 3 big challenging goals? The answer has never been yes. My response is, great, fix that first, worry about everything else after that. Because if you don't have everyone aligned with the core mission of your organization, nothing else matters. So let's start here. Until we have 3 big, aligned, powerful goals in every organization, you don't need to worry about changing other stuff. Point 1, set big goals. Point 2, we've been talking about diversity for a really long time. We embrace it. We value it. Problem is, we just don't do it. Because if you look at the numbers, they're crap. And they've been crap for a long time. And they're not getting particularly better. And I think the challenge is we embrace and value it a little bit too much, but we don't hold people accountable for actually doing it. I think diversity is pretty important, which means I think you should say things like, hey, Ms. Manager, or hey, Mr. Manager, 2 years from now, I want to make sure that your team is balanced in terms of demographics of the area or demographics of our industry. Now that's an expectation, you're not going to get rewarded for that. If for some reason you don't do that though, I'm going to find a manager who can. If we're serious about diversity, let's get serious about diversity. Clear metrics, clear accountability. I think it's a pretty important issue, and there's a lot of corporate happy talk around it that sounds good and keeps people out of trouble, makes absolutely no difference in the end. Finally, let's be more careful consumers. When somebody comes to us with a new book or article or speech or TED Talk, not a hacking HR, because that's all good stuff, but the other stuff that may not be true, let's really kind of sniff carefully at that. When Marcus Buckingham gets a cover article on HBR that says things like, actually, feedback doesn't work. You know, the only person who can set goals is you. I'm sorry, those are lies. He wrote a book called 9 Lies About Work. Most of the lies are in the book, not about the book. Be careful, consumers. When somebody comes to you with something that sounds a little too good to be true, a little too easy, really simple question. Hey, could you show me the peer-reviewed academic article that describes why this works? Even better, can you give me a meta-analysis, kind of a collection of articles that all say that what you're saying is true works? That's the belt and suspenders level of confidence I would love for you to get to. Time? 3 minutes, my God. Let's stretch this thing out. Okay, so careful consumer. So 3 big things I would love you to do. Focus on, does everyone in your organization have a few big challenging goals? Focus on really making diversity happen, and doing that by saying we're going to set goals and we're going to hold people accountable. And when I say accountable, I mean consequential accountability. Good things happen to you if you do it. Not as good things happen to you if you don't do it. And be really careful consumers. When people come at you and they say, if you just stand in the power pose, you'll be more successful, be a skeptical consumer and say, that sounds a little too easy, or there's some facts behind that. But remember, most folks actually enjoy work. Most people like their jobs. Most people like their bosses. A lot of what we need to do better in HR doesn't involve having to hack it or disrupt it or anything else. What it means is that we need to actually execute on the few things that we know works. HR is not a difficult thing to do well. Most organizations get distracted by the shiny objects and they don't focus on flawless execution of the basics. I would urge you to think about that over the rest of the evening. What can I do in my organization to make sure that some of those fundamental things, like ensuring we have a few big goals, ensuring that people have developmental opportunities, and ensuring that people have great managers, actually come true. Thanks. Look forward to questions later.
Beautifully done, and under time. I'm not sure I've ever seen that happen. That's how you hack HR.